Today, we travel to Vietnam for a bowl that smells like star anise, cinnamon, and ginger, and arrives steaming like a promise of calm. Welcome to Worldwide Delicious, where every dish carries a story, and every story ends with appetite. Our focus is Pho Tai, flat rice noodles in a clear beef broth, topped with thin slices of rare beef that turn tender in seconds. Pho is Vietnam's most iconic dish, and its history traces the country through colonial years, migration, and reinvention. Most researchers place its birth in northern Vietnam around the end of the 19th century and the start of the 20th, when street vendors fed workers at dawn. Some people link pho to French beef cookery, others point to Chinese noodle soups, and many highlight local northern habits that shifted from water buffalo to beef. Whatever the origin, pho became a masterclass in balance, a broth that tastes deep but looks clear, spices that perfume but never shout, and noodles that carry warmth without heaviness. In this episode, we follow Pho Tai from Hanoi sidewalks to southern markets and then to kitchens around the world. You will hear why the North keeps it simple with green onion and cilantro, and why the South piles on basil, bean sprouts, lime, and sauces. You will also learn what Pho Tai demands, because rare beef only tastes right when the broth is flawless. By the end, you will understand why every bowl feels like a story you can drink. Stay close, because dishes that seem quiet often carry history, and this bowl has carried Vietnam across generations through wars and journeys. If you love food history and craveable technique, subscribe to Worldwide Delicious, and join me for the journey, one fragrant spoonful at a time. The origin of pho is debated, and that debate makes the dish feel even more alive. Most evidence points to northern Vietnam in the late 19th century and early 20th, when cities were changing under French rule. One theory centers on French influence. French kitchens used beef bones and simmered stock, and colonial butchers left behind cuts that local cooks could afford. Vendors began boiling bones for hours, then seasoning the broth with Vietnamese aromatics such as star anise, cinnamon, and ginger. Another theory looks to Chinese immigrant communities who sold noodle soups with beef, especially traditions from southern China. Supporters of this idea note the shared logic of rice noodles, clear broth, and quick service for workers. A third explanation is proudly local. Before beef was common, northern Vietnamese ate a noodle soup made with water buffalo. When beef consumption increased, cooks replaced buffalo with beef and refined the seasoning, creating an early pho-like bowl. These paths may have overlapped in real life because street food often grows by borrowing what works and improving it with local taste. What matters is the outcome: a broth that is deep yet clean, built from bones, toasted onion, toasted ginger, and warm spices. The name pho may also reflect layers of language shaped by colonial contact. Though scholars disagree on the exact linguistic trail, by the time pho became widely recognized in Hanoi, it had already developed its signature identity: fragrant but not heavy, hearty but not greasy. You can taste that identity in the first sip: savory, slightly sweet, and gently spiced, with a clarity that tells you how carefully it was made, from scratch. In the next part, we step into Hanoi mornings, where vendors carried steaming pots and served pho tai to people starting their day. To picture early pho, imagine Hanoi at dawn: cool air, bicycle wheels, and the scent of broth drifting ahead of the vendor. In the decades when pho spread through the city, sellers carried pots on bamboo poles and served bowls wherever people gathered. This was street food, fast and nourishing, yet built on patience that started long before sunrise. The bowl was cheap but priceless. Pho Tai became a favorite because it honored the broth. Flat rice noodles went into the bowl, then green onion and cilantro, then a few slices of beef cut so thin they looked like silk. When the boiling broth hit the meat, it turned from red to pale pink in moments, tender without becoming tough. That little transformation is part of the charm. It feels like cooking at the table without any fuss. Over time, other styles appeared. Pho Chin used well-cooked beef for people who wanted a firmer bite. Pho Ga offered chicken, lighter but still fragrant. Each vendor adjusted small details: more toasted spice, more onion sweetness. Less fat on top, a longer simmer, a shorter simmer. Those choices shaped neighborhoods because regular customers learned which cart matched their mood. Good pho was judged by clarity. A great bowl had a broth that looked clear and golden, not cloudy, with flavor that stayed clean on the tongue. Vendors learned to blanch bones, skim foam, and keep the simmer gentle. They also learned that balance mattered more than heat. The spices should smell like warmth, not burn like fire. This is why Hanoi pho often feels simple, because it trusts a broth to carry everything. In the next part, we follow pho as it moves south and watch how the same soup becomes brighter and more abundant in a new climate. In the mid-20th century, Vietnam was divided, and people moved in large numbers, carrying memories, dialects, and recipes. After the partition, many Northerners traveled south and brought pho with them. In Saigon, now called Ho Chi Minh City, the soup met a different rhythm. Markets were fuller, herbs were more available, and the climate invited freshness. Southern pho often became a little sweeter, and it arrived with a generous plate of additions: Thai basil, cilantro, bean sprouts, sliced chili, and lime. Many diners added hoisin sauce or chili sauce, creating a personal balance that changed from bowl to bowl. The North kept a more restrained style. Northern pho stayed focused on the broth itself, emphasizing clarity, beef depth, and spice perfume, with simple garnishes like green onion and cilantro. This difference is not a rivalry, it is a map of place. The South celebrates contrast: crunchy sprouts against soft noodles, bright lime against warm spice. The North celebrates purity, a broth that stands on its own without distractions. Both approaches share the same foundation: rice noodles, aromatic broth, and a careful hand with seasoning. Both also share the same promise: comfort that never feels heavy. Pho Thai fits beautifully in both worlds. In the North, it showcases the broth because the rare beef is delicate and honest. In the South, it becomes a canvas for herbs and sauces while still staying clean at the core. As pho traveled within Vietnam, it became a bridge between regions, allowing families to taste home while adapting to new streets. No matter the city, the first sip feels like warmth and clarity, and the last sip feels like quiet peace. In the next part, we follow pho beyond Vietnam as refugees carried it across oceans and introduced it to the world. After the war, Vietnamese refugees carried pho to new countries, and the bowl became a portable home. In the beginning, pho shops served as community anchors, places where language felt familiar and the broth smelled like memory. Then curious neighbors tasted it, and pho began its second life as a global comfort food. In the United States, France, Australia, and many other places, menus expanded with new variations: meatball pho, chicken pho, seafood pho, and vegetarian bowls with tofu. Some changes came from local ingredients, some from new preferences, yet the core stayed steady: clear, aromatic broth, soft rice noodles, and a balance of savory depth with gentle sweetness. Over time, the word pho entered major English dictionaries, reflecting how widely it was spoken and eaten. Cultural groups also celebrated the dish with festivals and special days that honored its role in Vietnamese identity. That recognition matters because pho is more than a recipe. It is a record of resilience, the ability to turn scraps into something beautiful, and to preserve tradition while adapting to new streets. Every bowl tells a story of movement. Northern techniques for clarity traveled with families. Southern love for herbs traveled too, and in many cities, the two styles met and blended. You might find a clean Northern broth served with a big Southern herb plate, or a sweet Southern broth served with a Northern restraint in seasoning. That flexibility is why pho feels timeless. It can be served in an alley in Saigon or in a restaurant in New York, and it still comforts. When the steam rises, strangers become friends, sharing the same warmth, quietly. In the next part, we bring the story back to technique and start building the Pho Tai broth. Because everything begins with bones, fire, and patience. To understand Pho Tai, start with the broth because the beef slices are fragile and honest. Begin by charring onion and ginger until their surfaces darken and smell sweet. That char gives depth without clouding the pot. In a large stock pot, blanch beef bones briefly, then rinse them well to remove impurities. Refill with fresh water and bring it just to a gentle simmer. The goal is a steady breath of heat, not a rolling boil. As foam rises, skim it patiently because clarity is part of the flavor. Add the charred onion and ginger, then add warm spices, star anise, cinnamon, cloves, and coriander seed. Let the aromatics float and perfume the kitchen while the bones release their richness. The spices are not meant to make it hot, they are meant to make it fragrant. So you smell cinnamon, anise, and ginger before you lift the chopsticks to your lips. Season carefully with fish sauce for savory depth and add a small touch of sugar to round the edges. Pho broth should taste balanced, never sharp, never heavy. Keep the simmer low for hours and skim off excess fat so the finish stays clean. Some cooks rest the broth overnight. Then lift off the chilled fat in the morning for an even clearer bowl. When the broth tastes ready, strain it. Then taste again and adjust salt and fish sauce with a light hand. You are aiming for a broth you could sip straight from a spoon. When that happens, Pho Tai becomes simple to assemble because the broth does the cooking in the bowl. In the next part, we build the serving ritual, preparing the noodles, slicing the beef thin, and choosing between a northern-style bowl and a southern-style bowl. Both true, both delicious. Serving Pho Tai is quick because the slow work already happened in the broth. Cook flat rice noodles until tender but springy. Then drain well so the bowl stays focused. Warm your serving bowls so the heat holds. Place noodles in the bowl, then add green onion and cilantro. Slice beef as thin as possible across the grain and spread the slices over the noodles. Bring the broth to a full boil. Then pour it directly over the beef so the heat turns each slice pale and tender. Add a few rings of white onion if you like, and a pinch of black pepper for aroma. Now, choose your style. A northern bowl stays minimal, letting the broth lead with clean beef flavor and gentle spice. A southern bowl invites a side plate of herbs and crunch: Thai basil, cilantro, bean sprouts, lime, and fresh chili. Many diners add hoisin sauce for sweetness and chili sauce for heat. But the best approach is restraint. Add a little taste, then decide. The broth should still taste like broth, not like sauce. Alternate bites, noodles, beef, and sips of broth because pho is designed to be experienced in layers. The noodles carry warmth, the beef adds richness, and the herbs. If you use them, add brightness that wakes everything up. Use chopsticks for noodles and a spoon for broth. And take your time because pho is both breakfast and comfort. Built for busy streets and quiet nights in every season. Pho Tai is at its best when eaten right away, while the beef stays tender and the broth stays clear and hot. In the next part, we reflect on what this bowl represents, and we close our journey with gratitude. And a reminder to subscribe for more dishes and stories. Pho Tai looks simple, yet it carries a map of Vietnam in one bowl. It began in the north, where cooks learned to turn bones and thyme into a clear broth that tastes deep and clean. It absorbed influences without losing itself, borrowing the idea of beef stock, borrowing the idea of noodle soup, and then transforming both with Vietnamese spice and balance. It became famous in Hanoi mornings, served by vendors who walked with steaming pots and fed people before work. It traveled south with families, and in new streets it gained herbs, lime, and a brighter, sweeter edge. After conflict and migration, it crossed oceans and rebuilt community in faraway cities. That journey is why pho feels emotional. Each bowl speaks of resilience, of making beauty from scarcity, and of keeping tradition alive while adapting. When you watch rare beef turn tender under hot broth, you are seeing the dish reveal its trust because it depends on broth quality more than on tricks. If the broth is clear and balanced, the whole bowl sings. That is the lesson pho teaches. Patience creates simplicity. Today you can eat pho Thai in a Saigon alley, in a shop in Paris, or in a restaurant in New York, and the comfort is recognizable. It warms the hands, calms the mind, and invites you to slow down briefly. Thank you for joining me on Worldwide Delicious for this journey through pho Thai. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Worldwide Delicious for more dishes from around the world. Share this video with someone who loves soup and leave a comment with the next place you want to travel by taste. Until next time, keep your broth clear, keep your spices gentle, and keep your table open.